Hey everyone, it's Jack, and a Happy New Year to you. It's finally 2022. I think 2022 is going to be a great year, and I think it will be for you too. So today I'm going to take a look at Nitrux Linux. So Nitrux Linux is one of those distros that I think might be one of the cooler distros of 2022. Nitrux is based on KDE, and I just happened by some strange coincidence to be out at their website right now. So this is the Nitrux website, and as you can see, it's powered by Debian, and it's Debian 11, KDE Technologies, and Qt. And also down here it goes and gives us a little bit of a screenshot of what the desktop looks like, which looks pretty nice. And goes on to say that Nitrux is a Linux desktop distro directly based on Debian. It uses the Calamares installer, which is always good, and includes the NX desktop and the NX firewall on KDE Plasma 5 desktop environment. And MauiKit applications. Yeah, MauiKit, that's really cool. MauiKit is a UI set of widgets, or a GUI framework, I guess you could call it too, but it's a widget set actually, essentially, I think, that you can develop apps in, and then it is convergent in its technology, so the apps will adjust to the different sizes of your device, so it'll look good on a phone, an iPad, a desktop, and it's cross-platform, so those apps can also run in not only Linux, but on Android, Macintosh, and Windows, and probably some others that I haven't thought of. So yes, that's kind of cool that they have the MauiKit apps available in there. So I'm assuming that's probably in their app store. So that's going to be worth taking a look at too. Here at the web page, they have the download link right here, and I'm just going to hit this direct link, load it in, and I'm just going to skip over the whole install because it's Calamares. You've seen one, you've seen them all, so pretty straightforward. But first, still don't understand why people just don't get a GUI installer and use pure Arch. And then we got a reply from Richard that said, like an Arco Linux, and then he replied, like Arch GUI installer. Good points on both sides. Personally, my take on it is, from my personal experience, when I install straight from an Arch ISO, if I'm going to use it as a daily driver, typically I always run into some little issue, something. For example, I use an Interactive Brokers Trader workstation, and if I run that off of a raw Arch ISO install or distro, then I cannot log in to save my life. It just does not work. However, if I install something like Arco Linux, then it works just fine. No issues at all, which means that there's something, some library or something that is installed already on a distro that's a little bit more modified and prepared. And so, yes, I don't have as many surprises if I go with something that's a little more robust like Arco Linux as opposed to just the straight off Arch ISO. However, if you like to go from scratch and kind of build your way up and troubleshoot your way through, when you do run into these little issues, it's a great learning experience. But for me, I'm kind of past all that, and I'd rather not invest the time in having to Google all over the internet to try to solve an issue as ridiculous as not being able to log into my software. So yeah, that's my 2 cents. Onward and upward. Okay, now we're logged into our desktop environment here, and so nice. It looks like we have, this is probably Latte dock down here, I would say, being that this is KDE, and yes, Latte dock, and let's see if that's the same on top. Also on top. Okay, so we have Latte dock up here on top and on the bottom. Nice looking wallpaper there. And then here we can change our layouts, so that's pretty nice. They got, looks like 4 pre-configured layouts. Cool. And so we are in NX top panel. And so it looks like there's a top panel and a top panel 2. So I wonder what the difference is. If we hit top panel 2, it kind of looks the same, except this is longer down here on the bottom, I guess. I don't remember seeing those. Yeah, so now we got our desktop workspaces down here. And then over here, we have our menu. Nice. And so it looks like it's open on the second page here. If I go to the first, then there's nothing showing in the first. And on the second, it looks like we got individual applications. All right. So let's see if that looks the same in the first configuration layout. I'm going to go back to NX top panel and see how that works for the menu. And the workspaces are gone on the bottom. Okay, so that's the main difference there. And then over here, does the menu look? Yeah, the menu looks different actually. I'm on the first page now, and it looks like we got favorites here probably. System settings, Firefox, and then our software center. And then over on the second page, now we have categories. Okay, so it looks like AV editors. And if I click on that, it shows up below. Nice. And then to get back out of it, all I got to do is hit the escape key. And then we got accessories with a spectacle, hit escape key. So each time just hit the escape key to get back out of it. And I just launched an app image. I meant to click on another category, but oh well. So if I jump back in there, let's see. So here we got our CLI activities or utilities. And it looks like it's got wine in there. That's good. I wonder what version of wine is on here by default. Being that this is Debian, kind of curious as to see whether that's an old version or a newer one. Let's jump into our terminal here. And nice looking terminal. I like this theming. This is pretty cool. It's got a nice look to it. And let's do wine hyphen version. 4.2. Wow. Yeah, that's like from the Stone Ages. But actually, you know, if you go out to winehq.org/Debian, you can actually get the instructions on how to install a later version like 6.0 or maybe even 7 right there from the website by adding in the repositories. And then you can just uninstall this version and install a new one if you want a newer one. Well, that's probably what I'd do if I was running this personally. But there is nothing wrong with 4.2 for a lot of cases, I suppose. And since I'm in here, let's see if HTOP's installed. And it is. Nice. And it looks like we're running 869 megs of resources. So that's not bad at all. Especially for KDE. Although I shouldn't say it that way, actually, because KDE is probably one of the most resource-friendly desktop environments out there, probably, of the major ones that you have. So that's kind of cool. Nice. All right. Well, what else do we got in our apps? So this is kind of an interesting menu, actually. Here we have our graphic editors. The menu is kind of nice. It's a little bit different than the standard KDE menu that comes with the KDE panel, but it's got a level of coolness to it that I kind of like. I'm just going to launch Inkscape here, and I want to see if Inkscape is as ancient as Wine is, because Wine is pretty ancient, which would put Inkscape probably like 0.6 or nope, we got 1.1. Nice. So that looks like a pretty recent version here. So if I just kind of open up a quick template here, I should be able to go to the About box and get I think the very cutting edge is like 1.1.15. You know, like the latest stable I think is 1.1.1-3 maybe. Let's see, or 2, or 1.1.1, 3B, blah, blah, blah. Nice, okay. So that is good. I'm glad to see that. So it looks like their other software seems so far to be really up to date. So I'm liking that. That's kind of telling me that the repositories in here, maybe they're using the unstable repository, which means they would have a lot of the latest software in here available. So I'm liking that. Since we're on the subject, let's open up the Software Center and just find out. So here's our Software Center. And this has a unique look too. Different than the you know, the standard ones I see in KDE all the time. So here it's kind of showing some preview of different apps, and this is really cool. This is kind of, I don't know why, but it kind of reminds me a little bit like the Debian kind of software manager, the way it's kind of cooled out. And we got our categories here, nice. And so we got our programming categories, system tools, audio, office, video, internet, graphics, education. So if we click on any of these, it should give us some categories. And here we got favorites. So we got like Krita and Drawpile, and these are probably, I'm assuming, most downloaded probably. That's probably how they got in the favorites category. And then a whole list here. And then of course, if you want to look for something specific, just use the search up here and you can find something more specific like GIMP. And there it is. And Photo GIMP, which is nice too. That's GIMP that's kind of reskinned into looking like Photoshop. So that's cool. And let's just kind of see what version we got here. How new is it? Version 1 beta. What? No, I'm just kidding. Actually, it is, wow, it's the Git app image. Very cool. From 21.10.21, 2.10. So it's version 2.10. Wow, okay, so very good. Yeah, I'm impressed. Definitely. So for me, that would be one obstacle that's kind of overcome is the app obstacle, because I don't really like using old versions of apps. That's the only thing that puts me off with some versions of Debian for me personally. Now there's a lot of use cases where that's a situation you'd want to have, especially if you're setting those up for maybe end users in a business environment where you need stability and they're not going to know the difference. Or for Miss Grandma Daisy Moses that, you know, needs something to check her email. Those are probably good scenarios. Yes. So there you go. I'm liking it. Very nice looking software center. And so if I was going to just like do a search for something, like Inkscape was pretty much the latest. So if I did like a sudo apt search and then Inkscape, and then here we got a listing of different versions and the repositories they're from. So as I'm seeing here, yeah, cool. So they got like MX desktop images and app images. But if we go up here into Inkscape, here we're showing Inkscape from the unstable repository. Nice, okay. We have the unstable repositories. That looks like the source of our latest and greatest, and I'm liking it. So that's a plus. I give that a total thumbs up there. And I like the way the terminal here is made out too. This is kind of nice. And it's got the split screen setting here. Very cool. And then you can click it again to go back to a single. And if we go in here to settings, here we can kind of change our interface settings and our scheme and so forth. Right now it's on the Nitrux scheme by default, but you got all these other cool schemes if you want to get a different look. So I'm liking that. And let's see what this is. Station. Okay, Convergent Terminal Emulator. So we were talking earlier back when I was out at the website about the MauiKit, which allows you to have convergent applications that are cross-platform. And convergent, at least the way I understand it, is that it will adapt to different device sizes. So I could look at this terminal on my iPhone if I were, you know, using this on a phone or an iPad or anything. And those different devices, this will conform to those devices and still look okay, like they should look. So that's really cool. I am liking that. So this is one of those apps. And I believe if I jump back into the App Center real quick, I forgot to mention, because I remember seeing that before, that one of the app categories are the MauiKit Apps. And so here we got our Maui apps here at the bottom. And so these are a bunch of apps that are available that were built with the MauiKit. And so all these are convergent apps that can conform to all the different device standards. Here you can see some of the devices, the iPhones where the apps show up and how they look. This is really cool. I think this is something that's kind of innovative on the part of the Nitrux team. I haven't seen this really in any other distro personally. I really like that they are promoting this. So another big coolness plus for Nitrux. Yes. And of course on our bottom Latte dock here we have our file viewer here. I'm just going to open that up, and I kind of like the theming too right off the bat. I think the theming looks nice. Got a nice look to it, and really sharp looking file manager. I'm not really sure what that is. Files maybe? Like GNOME files? Not really sure. This kind of looks like the settings menu. So let's go to About real quick. Take a look at this. Oh, it's called Index. Yeah, I think I might have heard of this before, but I'm not really familiar with this at all. But it's a kind of a cool looking browser. And I didn't mean to hit Cite there. I guess I just click off to the side and that'll get rid of the About box. But this is really a cool looking file manager here. But anyways, I opened up the About the Site box by mistake. But since I did it, we might as well see a little bit about it. So, okay, it's taking you to MauiKit.org. So this is a MauiKit app as well. And I'm assuming that probably all the default apps that are on here are probably MauiKit. By default, I mean like the file manager and things, the utilities that basically you use. File manager, terminal, stuff like that. So, yeah. So here's the MauiKit. Kind of tells you a little bit about the UI framework there. UI is like, that's what you make your GUI with, your graphical user interface. Here, MauiKit is probably something I would like to play with sometime as somebody that likes to play around and develop. And so here it's letting you know that they're convergent, and that's one of the main things about it. Cross-platform, Linux, Android, Windows, and Apple, and based on Kirigami. So MauiKit is built using the KDE Kirigami framework and the Qt Quick controls too. So you could probably integrate this into Qt Creator and easily develop some really nice apps. Nice. I'm liking it. And back in here, looks like here you can open the terminal right from here. Also in this little guy, you can change your views. So if you want a list view, here's a list, and actually the list is kind of cool looking too. I like that. Very cool. And so if we click on these, it looks like a single click will get you in there. Nothing in there right now, of course. And then here we got like shortcuts to different places. So here's our home folder, and just for consistency, I'll change that back to a grid look the way it was originally. And then here we got other different tags. Apparently you can tag places. Maybe that's kind of like bookmarks. And then we have our favorites, or that might be more like bookmarks. And so then we have desktop, documents, downloads, videos, pictures, and music. So all our places over here, our shortcuts, all in kind of a icon form, which is kind of nice. And then we have our bookmarks over here, remote and drives. And then if we hit overview, then over here we kind of see our stuff in an overview. And here we have our drive and our network location, and then we got downloads, audios, and pictures. So if we click on that guy, there's nothing in there. So they're kind of all empty because this is showing your most recent downloaded files, audios, and images and all that. So there you get easy access to those, and then your favorites up here, once you start accumulating them, will show up in here as well. So a really slick looking file manager. I think this is pretty cool. And then you click browser to get back to your view where you were before. And by default, I think it was probably in the home setting here. So really nice looking. I'm liking this. And this theme is really nice too. I don't really recognize what that is. I think I'm going to take a look. So I'm going to come down here on the bottom Latte dock, and I'm going to hit System Settings. Let's take a look at our system settings. And wow, I like the layout. That's really cool. I actually like that better than the default KDE layout. That's probably adjustable here under Configure. And then here you can see we have icon view and sidebar view. Typically what you probably used to see in KDE is the sidebar view, which is this right here. And so here you have the sidebar and you go up and down. So this is a familiar look here when you're in KDE. However, I really kind of like the icon layout and never really paid attention to it in KDE until Nitrux. Nice. So if I go in my burger menu, I can just hit Configure again and switch it back to icon view for the sake of continuity here. And here we go for appearance and everything. And yeah, with my personal aesthetics, I really kind of like this better. I guess maybe because I'm used to the other DEs like XFCE and so forth, where it's just all kind of laid out in a nice icon panel. And for me, it's just a little more easier to manage. It just seems more organized. So I like it. I'm going to hit appearance here, and also when you mouse over. Okay, so now in our appearance, we have our global theme, and it looks like we're running Nitrux Dark by default. And this Nitrux theme is really nice. I do like this. I think if I were running Nitrux, I would probably just stick with that theme. Of course, being KDE, you can get the themes in the usual traditional way. You can hit Get New Global Themes, and it'll take you out to the website and give you a whole bunch of choices on what to download. And they all show up right here under Global Themes. And typically you can sort these, I think, by here. I think it's sorted recent by default. And typically I like to go highest rated first when I take a look. And then you can see like number one seems to be KDE, and then we got Google Chrome, not KDE, Sweet KDE, Chrome, and so a lot of cool looking ones here. Windows 10, OS Dark theme. So yeah, lots of themes here to look at. And then under application style, this would kind of more centralize your look within a window rather than globally. Your global theme kind of changes your theme around your whole environment. And then here you can kind of fine tune a little bit. So in your application style, you could change the look of your buttons here. Here it kind of shows you a sample of your buttons and your drop down boxes and your progress bar and all this stuff here. So you can change your styles here. And then under Plasma Style, of course, you got where you can kind of change the looks of your windows without really affecting, I don't believe, your menu bar and so forth. So that's kind of cool. And Nitrux Dark, again, is the default there. And then here we can kind of change our accent colors. So I like this blue that they have here on the scroll bars and the highlighting and so forth. But if you wanted a different one, you could actually come up here and go to Custom. You could make them something else like that one, pink. So you could hit apply. And then that would kind of change your highlighting. Like that. And now it's pinky with bluey. Nice. And of course you got a bunch of other colors you can choose from here and change those. Or you can just go back and click up here and go back with the highlighting that goes with the theme that you're currently running. And for this theme, the highlighting is this nice blue shade here, which I think looks great. And then under window decorations, this is where you can change your top bar here. Some of these window decorations are rounded and some of them are sharp corners. So if you don't like the rounded look, for example, here we got, in this theme we have a rounded look, but let's say you want the sharp corners instead. One of the easiest ways to do that is simply change the theme up here. So here we have Nitrux Aurora, and it still has the same styling, but it's squared off, but it's a light color. But if we click on it and hit apply, that'll sharpen it up. And now you have kind of a squared off edges up on top. And so that's really kind of the easiest way to square off your window borders. You can also go here to get new window decorations, and you can choose from all kinds of different styles. And so that's another way that you can change your window decorations separately from your window theming. So I could have a theme on here that's totally unrelated. So I could use this plastic theme and make my window look like that. And if I apply it, then I have a dark decorations up here on top, and it's squared off, sharp. And then if I wanted my buttons over here on the other side, I just go to title bar buttons, and then just take these guys and drag them all over. And then that'll fix that. If you like having them on the traditional right-hand side. And there you go. Now you can see that when I hit apply, that they all pop over here in this corner. So that's kind of how you play with that. Nice. And again, for consistency, I'm going to just jump back into the Nitrux here and hit apply. And this pretty much works for any desktop environment. Sometimes you just got to go in different areas, like on XFCE, you might have to go into, I think it's window tweaks, maybe, or Windows under your system settings. And here we have our icon themes, so you can change them here. And Live is the default for this theme, and a really nice choice for icons as well. And then here, of course, you can change your cursors, and then the type of launch feedback you have. So if you want to change that, right now it's defaulting to the bouncing icon. So if I open up a browser or something, you see the little icon bouncing up and down there for 5 seconds. And so you can also make it blank or just static or have no feedback at all. Nice. And then you can time how long you want it to bounce there. And then we can manage our fonts, our splash screen. So if you want a splash screen when you log in, then here's where you can do that. Typically I set mine at none. I just feel like it goes in faster without it. It could be a psychological thing, but you know. So yes, our settings, very nice. And the settings in here really overall are just your standard KDE settings from what I can see here. So not anything unusual as far as that goes. But I really like their icon default. And then of course here is where you would change your login picture if you want something different. So we could just give it something cool like a, I like that actually, that light bulb. One time I was looking in the mirror and I had an idea and I saw that bulb right over my head. It was amazing. So I'll just go ahead and change that. Then we have MX Firewall. So a lot of nice settings in here. All this stuff, like I said. And then under About, you're showing what we have. So we're running Nitrux 1.80, build 25.122.1. And then of course running Plasma version 5.23.4, KDE Frameworks 5.89, Qt version 5.15.3, and 5.15.11 kernel. Like that, very up-to-date kernel here on Debian. So I'm really liking what they did with the Debian. I'm just kind of one of those cutting-edge guys, so I like having everything cutting-edge and up-to-date, like the kernel and the software. And you can find that here in Nitrux. This is a great distro to have if you want to be up-to-date and cutting-edge and still use Debian. So really nice. And of course with Debian you got all those wonderful repositories, so you got access to pretty much everything in the world that exists on Linux. So very good. So that's our settings, our file manager apps. This is something to me that I like because it's KDE, but it doesn't really have the KDE look. It's really kind of customized here with the Latte dock and even the settings menu, system settings, you know, different than what you expect to see in the KDE. So I'm liking that. And then here we got some wallpapers and a lot of cool looking wallpapers. This is cool. The conch shell there, I like that. I might have to hit that. Wow, nice. That's a beautiful wallpaper. I think I'm going to stick with that. And I haven't even gotten halfway down. So yeah, just a ton of stuff. Beautiful wallpapers and a lot to choose from. Noir Beach, river, a lot of nice scenes in here. Really great. And a few here and there that are familiar, but a lot I haven't seen. Really nice, impressive array of wallpaper here. And then here is where you can set your mouse actions, location, and of course by default we typically want to point to the desktop folder, but you can change that to other folders too if you wish. And then the type of icons right now, it looks like it's set for a really kind of nothing to show up on the desktop. And then filters. So a very nice look here. I think this is a really polished look. I'm going to cancel that out. And so now my 2 cents. Nitrux I'm really impressed with. I think I looked at this maybe earlier last year. To me, it's a little bit different than I remember it, and actually a little more impressive than I remember it. So I really like the changes they've done, and I'm sensing the changes more subconsciously than consciously because I don't remember specifically what all is different from the last time I looked at Nitrux, but it is definitely a sensation of a different feel, and I'm kind of ending this up with the fact that I'm feeling good about what I'm looking at. I'm liking the wallpaper. The resource usage is really good, only 800 and some megs, which isn't too bad considering all the, the Latte dock and KDE and all that going on, effects, blurring effects, which I forgot to mention. You got the nice blurring effect here behind the panel bar, and it just kind of gives it a nice, modern, sleek look. Got a nice feel to it. I like the menu, and it's really a different feel. So if you want something kind of different from the standard look and feel that you get on most desktops, this one is unique. This has got it. I mean, even the file manager, when you go in there, it's totally different than the other file managers that I use, whether it's Thunar or Dolphin or Nemo, what have you. This is really kind of different than all of them. But using the MauiKit UI, I would think that it's going to really be kind of unique in its own right. This is just one of the kind of unique things. And the MauiKit itself, that they use the Maui apps, I think is also a unique and defining feature that makes this distro really kind of special. It's definitely a double thumbs up for me. I would definitely like using this, and I think it would be a worthwhile daily driver. And so I recommend giving it a try and let me know what you think of it. And with that, I hope this review was helpful. And if it was, don't forget to hit that thumbs up and hit subscribe. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time.